Yes, everybody, welcome back here to the ESL 1 Cologne major qualifiers here in Katowice, of course. It's been a pretty solid day of games now, as we've seen both some of the winners pool and all of the losers pool. Tomorrow, going to be even more exciting, but for now, we still have 2 more games to go. This next one's going to be a tight one, no doubt about it. The last time that these 2 teams played against each other was actually at ESL 1 Cologne 2015. It's been all this time since then that they've been preparing and checking each other out and getting set for this game. For Cloud9, it was a little bit of a close one on Cobblestone over Empire. It did go 16-12 in the end there. They started off strong, but eventually had some difficulty holding off Empire, especially on the B side on Cobblestone. They tried throwing AWPs there, 2 players at once. Nothing was really working, but they got their stuff together and they managed to come out on top in the end. An interesting story, no doubt about it, for mousesports here as well. Playing on Dust 2 up against the Fluffy Gangsters. As usual, there are some things in life that are certain. Death, taxes, and Nico fragging. He did that. Next was also up the top of the scoreboard with him, but Chris J struggling a little bit there to make his presence felt on the AWP. It was a close one. It went to overtime, but mousesports got it done. And now both these 2 teams play to put themselves in pole position for tomorrow to guarantee their major spot. There's plenty on the line in this match, as there will be in the ones to come. So I'm sure, Alex, both these 2 teams are ready to go. And I'd love to hear more about their tactics, I think.
Great stuff, Mitch. Just setting the scene beautifully for this game. I like the idea that Nico is a guarantee at this point in time for mousesports, and indeed he was alongside Nex actually in their game over on Dust 2. However, I want to kind of open the desk discussion by asking how much that performance from Mouse just yesterday are we going to let that hang over their heads? Are we going to kind of give that as a litmus test for their form, or are we going to kind of let them forget about all about that?
It's like the first game jitters more than anything. I wouldn't put too much emphasis on that one result. It's just one map, and things can happen, especially in a map like Dust 2. I think it's a very up and down map for a lot of teams, mousesports included. So yeah, just a one-off. I mean, if they struggle here massively, then we start that discussion. Yeah.
Okay, then. So let's focus on where those weaknesses did initially lie. I know we've already critiqued Chris J and him not showing up in the interview. He admitted, yeah, I just was having a bad game. But when mousesports underperform, I mean, there's always these silly jokes about being a mousesports fan and how it's just bad for your heart at this point in time, because they always show such good signs, such good promise, and haven't been able to really kind of convert it into anything substantial.
Yeah, well, they are their worst. They are their own worst enemies a lot of the time, and for how good they are, just mechanically and individually skilled, they do have some very, very questionable decision making from time to time. And I think Nex is probably one of those players who, more than often than not, will be the focus of a lot of these mistakes. We even saw it yesterday, and I think it was a 1v2 situation between Nex and. Well, I think it might have been Speed playing along, where all of a sudden you just kind of forget about what's going on around you, and Nex just kind of tumbles out into the crosshair of Little. And stuff like that happens quite often, actually, and that's kind of why I hate seeing them play Cobble, because that's the map where everything just goes wrong eventually. So they can get up to 13, 14 rounds, everything's looking super nice, and then just everyone just has a mental collapse.
Yeah, playing off of each other seems to be a bit of an issue for these guys. Basically, what you're trying to say. As in all the 3-on-3 situations or the 2-on-3, 2-on-2 situations where you need to have a crisp communication and play off of one another. Does not seem to be the strength of this team, and that's, in my opinion, where the best teams are separated from the rest, basically.
Would you suggest perhaps there's an absence of chemistry in mousesports, or is that not the question? I mean, when Nico's constantly turning up and he's getting a little frustrated when others aren't joining him, could that be a problem?
I mean, considering this is like the 3rd coach they have in the team, maybe they're trying to find that one personality behind them that can sort of ease those situations, and maybe it's a little bit too hectic, or obviously they have to communicate in English for the most part. So a lot of uncertainties there that we don't have an exact answer for, but that's my best guess.
And Kassad, of course, I do want to highlight their new coach has a very thick-looking notebook in his hand, currently standing behind them during this veto, and it is underway. Cobblestone has already been removed by Mouse, and it seems like Dust 2 was first on the chopping block for Cloud9. Back to you guys, though, as we continue to find that one map that will try and battle one of these teams with a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, right off the bat, I'm thinking Cash is a pretty good map for both teams in this kind of situation. I was wondering whether or not Cloud9 wanted to leave Dust 2 in, because as we've seen, mousesports are very up and down on that map. They have great anything from great performances to where you just sit there dumbfounded, not really knowing what to make out of it. As for the other maps, Overpass is not really something that Mouse plays all that much, and it is actually something that Cloud9 has in their repertoire. So
This
makes
will
sense
not
so far.
be Mirage. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah. So
definitely going to be Cash.
makes
Unless we
sense.
get a
It's
massive
one of the best
curveball.
maps for both teams. So we're actually whoa. Okay, so that is a bit of a
wrecked, me.
Yeah.
No, I'm just gonna. Okay. So the reason I just want to justify why I said that.
Yeah.
Not, you know, I don't often kind of come in and interject on vetoes. The only reason I said that was because I know Cloud9 felt awful after their performance on Mirage over it.
As they should.
Exactly. I think it was 28 rounds on T lost consecutively
Well,
across
at
2
least
games.
they did beat Luminosity just recently in E-League, so
Bingo.
they got that going for themselves.
So there's some confidence back on the Mirage horse, it seems.
Yeah, because this is Cloud9's decision to make as well. They could have gone into Cash, a map where they've been performing very well as of late. So yeah, no.
But it's a map also that Nico goes ham a lot of the
Well,
times.
what map doesn't?
Well,
Nico
I
go
mean,
ham
he
on?
goes extra ham.
Militia, Italy.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him go ham.
Office, yeah.
Office, that's a good one.
But I mean, like extra ham. Like we're
Okay,
talking,
extra
like,
ham.
Really, really thick ham.
What's like extra ham? I don't think I've ever found extra ham in the supermarket.
Well, try and go find it better.
So the knife round's going down, and we're going to be seeing the battle for sides. This is where I usually start probing you guys for predictions. Now you know the map, you know the teams, and you also know the current form of both of them. Where are we going to be putting this one? Is there any belief in the North American Kingdom?
Actually, I have a lot of question marks for mousesports more than
More than Cloud9,
because
yeah.
Cloud9 seems to be a little bit more content, but as a team right now, they seem to be playing off of each other way better. The thing we just discussed being an issue for mousesports, so I would not be surprised if Cloud9
Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
wins.
Chris has taken the knife level to a new level.
I think he's firing knives at them with a USP.
Wow.
I'm surprised more people haven't used that strategy.
You know
Very
what?
effective.
New meta.
It actually makes winning knife rounds a lot more easy actually when you use your pistol, believe it or not. That's an inside scoop for you guys at home that want to win knife
Pro
rounds.
tip.
Yeah, but use your
This
pistol.
is-
So because of that, I can only assume that means that it will be... Oh, it's going to be restarted. I was going to say it's going to be a freebie for Cloud9. Maybe there was something going on behind the scenes. But yeah, so that's going to be... We get to watch that knife round all over again. I know you were
Yeah.
desperate to see it all over again.
But I guess we
it
can
gives you more time to talk.
Yeah, extend on the point really that why we have worries for mousesports is because, well, again, Mirage is a team now is a map where you actually kind of have to have some sort of cohesion to make it work, unless you're solely relying on star level performances from Nico or Nex or Chris J to pull you out of it, and that's really not how you want to go into a match. As for Cloud9, they've just, you know, as you said, they come off a win from or versus Luminosity in E-League, and we know that that's not easy, regardless of what map you're on.
Definitely
And
not, no.
ever since Slim has come in, there has been a certain calmness over the team and a certain structure that makes them seem closer to the Sean Gares Cloud9 that we saw in the summer of 2015 than what we've seen in the meantime.
It's a good example of, you know, not everything's settled on paper. Everyone
Yeah.
says when he was joining the team, like, who the heck is this guy? Obviously,
He's the answer.
he's done. Yeah, it's been a great answer to this problems that Cloud9 has had.
Hasn't every Cloud9 roster change been asked that question, though? When Freak was brought in, when Stewie was brought in, when they removed Sean Gares, everything Cloud9 seems to do goes against what most people in the community believe is the right move. And so far, they're still turning up. They're still in the offline qualifiers, and they're currently 1-0 up. So you know what? Whoever is making those decisions behind the scenes certainly has got his head screwed on right.
Yeah, no, he's definitely been doing a pretty good job of it. And now it remains obvious to see how long it's going to last, because we often talk about honeymoon phases for certain teams and whatnot, but it feels like Cloud9 has the foundation and
Yeah.
solid groundwork to actually make this something sustainable.
Yes, I feel like they have the building blocks right now of Stewie just really flourishing recently, playing up the potential everyone was or expectation everyone was having for him. And also, I want to see more from Skadoodle, obviously. I want to see him being a little bit more aggressive, taking a little bit more initiative, because he's such a fast hopper. So he should use that ability he has by being a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be very key, actually, for Cloud9 if they want to get away with a win here, simply because...
Look at this stalemate.
Yeah. It's a Western duel.
Down.
There we go.
There we go.
Might as well be able to win the knife. So they're probably going to start on the CT side.
Probably,
Kind of ease into things. But yeah, Skadoodle definitely should be a pretty big factor. And actually, well, for both teams, because we saw in Dust 2, Chris J didn't really show up for anything, and that turned into be really close games. Obviously, if Chris J has, I guess, an average game, that goes a lot easier for Mouse.
Which seems to be more...
And for Cloud9, well, Skadoodle, if he turns up and shows up to be, you know, the 2000 and early 2015 Skadoodle that we kind of knew.
Okay, that's ifs and
That could
buts.
be scary.
That's ifs and buts done. I want a full-on team name. I know you're doubting mousesports, but are you guys willing to put your prediction where your words are? That makes sense. Honestly, I promise. Go, give me a team name.
Wow.
No, I'm going to go with mousesports. Honestly, it's just the firepower of Nico. That's just, I don't see how Cloud9 can overcome it.
And right, nice and quickly, Natu, you joining the mousesports train?
No, just let's go Cloud9 this time.
Yeah, all right. We have a split desk.
Yes.
Right, the game's ready. The players are indeed about to jump into Mirage, and it's going to be a big one. Can Cloud9 start as they mean to go on in the offline qualifier, or will it be mousesports who goes 2-0 here in day 2 of the offline qualifiers? Let's get into it.
Thank you so much, and yeah, what a great map to see this on. A bit of a surprise to everyone, considering I think it was Cash that was left open. Definitely what we thought would be coming into the mix, but no, we're going to be seeing Mirage between Cloud9 and Mouse. What are your thoughts here?
I guess wanting to dodge Cash, considering the fact that Mouse looked fairly strong on as of late recently too, with the exception of a couple of bumps within their last 4 maps. They were on like a 10-map winning streak there for that map against like much higher European teams. This is in like the ESL Pro League and whatnot. So I feel like maybe they're not 100% secure with the victory there. And considering they played this very well against Luminosity, if I recall correctly, when they played this at E-League just a couple weeks ago, maybe they're feeling a bit confident here. But there is that ringing sort of recollection that you have to tell back to when they went 0-28 on their T side on one event. And that was at DreamHack Austin just a few weeks back.
I'm really hoping that's not what we see here from Cloud9. I want a really competitive game between these two, because as you said, that Luminosity result was great, but that was nothing as well, having a fantastic performance individually, which you don't often see. It seems like you want to see it more often than not, but it doesn't always come through. But when he does perform, that's certainly going to be a big factor here. If he finds that form, there is definitely a game on our hands, but it does come down to a lot of other players here. Again, questions around Skadoodle's performance, then Chris J as well. Quite the similar storyline for those two, but we are now moments away from getting started here, and what is going to be, I assure you, a sick game. So, starting out, we mousesports on the CT side and Cloud9 on the T side. Why don't you take us into this?
And we get right into that test as well here with Cloud9 jumping onto the T side. We'll see how well things are for themselves. Slummy carrying the bomb. He's going to take it closer to the A bomb site now, leaving it outside for now. But a lot of noise is going to be made by Cloud9, in fact, with 3 players pushing into the apartments, throwing out some decoys too. Very quietly bouncing back now. Nothing in Skadoodle going to creep their way back towards the T spawn, possibly grouping out towards middle to try and go that mid-connector push, along with the Palace and T-Ramp push to just drive a wedge into the A-bomb site and prevent anybody else. But there's also a lot of pressure from mousesports on mid right now, so it doesn't really seem like they've been tricked too much by what Cloud9 threw earlier over towards the B site.
Yeah, Nico's getting curious as to where these guys are. There's not been too much of a real contact play yet, and he's really pushed on mid, so he knows that's completely cleared. And they haven't pushed out on A, so they're playing quite passive towards that for the CT side of mousesports. One towards jungle, and I believe that would be Dennis towards CT. So yeah, Nico's going to ensure that there's no one by B, which will allow players like Next to quickly cheat themselves through towards A far before getting any other information. Speedy can get himself set up towards short. And there you go. Nico's going to find out the full picture. There's no one at B here. And it's time to get your eyes set towards A. Even the smokes are coming in though, so they know this is probably where the play is going to come down now. It's a 3-2 split, 3 through Palace, 2 through Ramp, and they're going to get the site themselves. Mouse, as said, playing extremely passive though, so this could be just a pure retake now.
Even moving in so much now as the pressure ticket booth a little bit here to stop them from retaking to begin with. Nothing, dropping Dennis to start things off here, but also bringing Nothing down pretty low himself. Stewie though takes that own roll. Nico so far is the only one that's made any progress as he pushes his way back towards T-Ramp. A nice one tap there, knocks out Skadoodle, and they are fighting back for some control now. They brought this evenly down to a 3-on-3 now, but they still have to worry about that Palace pressure, which is going to be coming out from Shroud. That's dealt with easily. But now Stewie back behind the ticket booth here. The smoke comes in. He's going to try to take it down. Takes the diffuser and into a 1v1, 2v1 we go. And Nothing wrapping all the way around. He forgot about him from earlier, but as he works his way back in through the window room, he's going to be able to finish things off for C9.
Stewie and Nothing being absolutely at the forefront, and that both players I think made their way through Palace as well. So really big impact play from them. Stewie pushing through with Nothing straight through towards CT. So again, great positioning. You noticed there the wrap coming out from Nothing. Make sure he went all the way around, securing that bomb as best he could. And the infamous Nico Deagle will be featured here. So don't write this man off for doing damage at this point. He can certainly achieve it. He's going to split out a couple of players towards mid. Assume that it's probably going to be a bit of a play towards A. Sadly, no flashes to hamper that push through Ramp coming out from the T side here, as Stewie's going to be the first in, but it's Nothing to find Nico through connector.
Going just a bit too high, so not going to find it. Chris J, though, gets the whip on Slemmy, finds him mid-air there and takes him down, but Stewie immediately responding to that drop, being able to eliminate him, and Shroud now wrapping back towards CT, kills the rotation as he eliminates Next, so leaving all of the defense into the hands of Speedy and Chris J. As a pause will be called out, obviously not going to affect it in this round, but technical reasons needed for mousesports here. As Chris J moves out, looking to find one hunting frag. He's going to be able to take down Stewie with that. So at the very least, still impacting a bit here, causing some losses on the side of the T's.
Certainly not clean rounds coming in for Cloud9 just yet. They've been getting the bomb plants. They've been doing just as they need to. not clean, which isn't ideal, but it's more than fine, and Speedy doesn't have a kit, so I started to get nervous then. I've seen enough Ninja diffusers on this map, so Skadoodle just sticks around long enough to be able to take him aside. And Christian trying to keep hold of this Galil, but going to be found in the end by Shroud. Galil, nice little upgrade there from the Mac 10. And we're going to see a good enough round there for Cloud9. They're probably very happy with that. 3 players left alive, all armor there. You know, not much utility to bring over, but they can happily go forward as they did get enough plants to really supplement that money. But now here's the tech pause, so just going to be trying to fix things up. I'm not sure what the issue was. They didn't actually say. So, as said, you're not allowed to talk anymore during these technical pauses. Teams are still learning, you know, getting used to that again. I actually believe the TeamSpeak gets muted as well, so everything just goes dead silent.
Yep.
So,
Not allowed to speak. I think we had to. I think there was a warning against Flipside for that one when everybody was still getting used to that. It's a bit of a new one. So, speaking of Shroud, though, as he picked up that last kill, it's always the big question with him: is are we going to see sort of like an all-star bringing out him? As of late, it's sort of been Stewie as the highlight fragger for these guys. Not so much Shroud anymore, but Shroud still seems to be like just more of a consistent force at this point. Not necessarily like the highlight plays, but always bringing in that good fragging power when you need it on the team.
yeah, and it looks like Kasad headset's being switched out there, so maybe having a couple of issues, the coach himself. A little bit of a concerned look at the end, just like, why are you on me? And no, it's just the coach behind, don't worry. But yeah, so as you said, Shroud maybe not being the highlight player anymore, maybe a little overtaken by Stewie recently, but if Shroud becomes consistent, that's not exactly a bad thing to have a consistent fragger coming into Cloud9, so something that we'd certainly looking forward to and hoping that it does become consistent. The next player you look at to find some form, again, is Skadoodle. A player that we've all been waiting to see really start to maybe hit those highs again, but not exactly particularly easy at this point, especially when you're against someone like mousesports, who do have Christian, who's extraordinarily good on this map. It's not exactly a quiet point for him, but probably not the biggest threat on that board, being Nico, I can imagine, being the one to keep your eyes on. But it does seem as though there are actually a good few technical pauses, or a couple of issues actually coming out. So we are, if I'm not mistaken, are going to go to a very quick break, as it will take about 5 minutes to resolve this. So guys, do stay tuned. We'll be back very, very shortly. So, welcome back. I do apologise again for the break, but hopefully things are on their way to being resolved. It should be a couple of minutes at most until we're back underway. But Blue, how are you feeling about this one? We've seen 2 rounds, not too much to be looked at yet. It's still very early on in this, so it's not much to be said just yet, is there?
Yeah, I mean, one thing we didn't get to talk about on the analysts, of course, we didn't get to talk about our own predictions, and
That's
I'll
true.
answer mine first. But
Go on then.
no, I know normally I get a lot of crap for it and being like just hating on NA constantly. In this matchup, I think I'm actually going to subscribe to the Cloud9 hype train.
I'm doing the same, personally. Oddly enough, just due to the fact that I didn't read much into mousesports playing incredibly well before. Of course, Nico and Nex had a very big game, but everyone else was very quiet, having a bit of a struggle. Chris J even said, you know, they underestimated their opponent coming into their previous matchup. Was it against Fluffy Gangsters, one of the games they had? I'm trying to think it was on Dust 2. I'm not 100% sure, but do correct me if I'm wrong there. But yeah, I just think at this point, if you're coming into, you know, qualifiers like this, you can't afford to do that at any point. So I'm hoping for their sake they fix that mentality and they can start having a good game individually. But for me, yeah, I'm backing Cloud9 in this one.
And here's the thing too, as to why exactly I'm doing it, is everybody seems to be doing quite a good job, and they are starting to come back into that form. We're not back to like tank top Cloud9 yet, like we were in summer of 2015.
Is that really a reference point of form now, tank top Cloud9?
It's actually fairly memorable for, I imagine, a few people out there.
I can imagine so, yeah.
For
It was a sight.
For Cloud9's merchandising team, I imagine it was a gold mine. I'm actually curious to see how many of those they sold during that summer. But
I know Alex has one, so if you want to see Machine, just if you ever look around our hotel's gyms, you'll probably see him in a lovely Cloud9 vest.
But anyway, yeah, everybody's been sort of stepping up and improving. Stewie really melding into the team very well. Shad's still fairly consistent with his fragging power, although not necessarily the star that he was of the past. Nothing coming back into form now that he's had sort of the weight of leadership taking off of him. And specifically in yesterday's match, actually, Slemmy, if I remember correctly, he was like second on the scoreboard. He was fragging quite proficiently too. And now if we get Skadoodle back to where he was last summer, this is actually a very strong team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, Slemmy on Cobble's CT side when he was playing on A Long was actually very impressive, actually. He was kind of, I guess, kind of being there with, I think it was Skadoodle who was generally kind of supporting by middle, but it was actually Slemmy having a massive, outstanding performance. And considering when I saw them at, it was ESL, it was a London event that when we were up in Leicester, Slemmy was nowhere to be found. He was actually playing really, really badly. But then again, you know, he was in-game leading at that point. He was still relatively newer to the fold. It still wasn't, you know, that full settled-in lineup just yet. So there was a little bit of, I guess, letting him off on that sort of performance. But he's really started to come into his own. So again, if he starts to find form himself, that's a really nice addition to the lineup. And I'm hoping we get to see a little bit of that here. He's not exactly had a bad start looking at the scoreboard there. He's just not particularly had to do much yet. He's 0-2, but he's just not been involved, if I'm honest. So it's kind of fair that he's just been chilling around with it. Everyone else has been doing the work for him. Nothing having a brilliant start there as well as Stewie. So everything else has been done by his 2 rounds in. Again, not exactly much you can read into it.
So, by the way, in case anybody's wondering what the issue is, we are trying to fix, I think, a problem with the coach's headset on the side of mousesports. So, a bit ironic in that even if this was a technical pause, they wouldn't be able to talk to each other anyway.
It must be incredibly boring just to sit there in silence.
Yeah, imagine when it gets to this length, it does.
Yeah.
Shroud's
not how he's like.
Shroud hears this, I think. He's like, yeah, I agree. This is not very good.
It does get incredibly dull. Just sitting here waiting, and it does kind of not ruin the momentum. I think it's too early to discuss momentum really affecting it, or even the impact of momentum at all. I know there's some people out there who actually disagree that it has any effect on games, or any kind of, I guess, countable effect on games, which is quite a curious opinion. I'd like to see if players kind of buy into that thought pattern as well. But at the moment, only 2-0 up. Cloud9 have just been kind of plowing through A at the moment, once they picked up that first round after the decoy B strat, which was an interesting one. Maybe, not sure how they came up with that, but it worked in the end. Nico and Walkabouts was just a little late to the punch after picking up a few on the flank. But yes, still in the pause, and it doesn't look as though it's resolved just yet. I think still see some admins around and Nico's headset's off. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what comes through that. I assume maybe the coach's headset just goes into his PC.
We may have run into another road bump, it seems, judging from the endgame chat, as I think Dennis called for a match medic on the round, since I think he accidentally picked up Kevlar, which was not his intention to do, especially on a 3rd round where you normally don't buy anything at all on the CT side. So, according to the game admin, though, they should be able to restore it pretty quickly. Take about 30 seconds to a minute, and then, only then, we can only hope at least, that we'll be getting back into this game pretty quickly, and they should indeed restore it in just a moment. We'll get right back into the swing of things here.
Hopefully. We'll see.
But I think
I'm just reading chat, just looking for updates. I'm like,
I think indeed the big test here for mousesports, as it always does seem to be, is going to be like who else do we see step up to the plate besides Nico? And in their first match yesterday, like Nico wasn't even really there as well for the first half. He was kind of silent for a large portion of that one, kind of chiming in a bit later on there, but had to sort of recover for that one. It was Nex. It was, you know, everybody says Nico Sports. It was Nex Sports for a large portion of that match on Dust 2 yesterday. So hopefully we don't see that problem resurfacing once again, and also more of these players too. We always want to see that from mousesports, just more guys stepping up to the plate and being able to provide that very consistent performance that adds to the mix along with Nico and some of their other great players.
Yeah, again, for me, it's always going to be Chris J, because this was one of the maps that he became increasingly impressive on. Him and it was Alu at one point when they were in the combination. You saw the double up coming in, Alu being a little bit more dominant with it at one point. But Chris J always was able to hold his own to an extremely high stand on this. The fluidity as to how he played on the CT side was always beautiful to watch, whether it be with Scout, whether it be with AWP. Always had that really nice versatility that really lends to a good AWPer here. So I'm hoping we get to see the classic Chris J, should I say, rather than the kind of newer, slightly more downtrodden version that's just not quite been having any sort of headline performance. So this is a big map for him, certainly going to be a talking point in the future. If Nex can find a good bit of comfort here, again, a massive factor. So both teams really do need to start, individually playing well. It looks like everything is resolved. Again, apologies for the wait. It was just, I believe, a headset issue of whatever variety it was, but it does seem to be fixed up and all good to go now. So we do see Kassad. He's looking warmed up. He's jumping around. He's ready to get this one started, and there we go. So all is good. All is ready, and we'll be jumping back into this any second now.
Chris J was another player too yesterday that actually did struggle to start off for mousesports, and I think he was like bottom fragging to a very big degree towards the end of the first half, only somewhere between like 3 and 6 frags if I recall it correctly, and then he bounced back big time as they worked their way back into things in the second half, but still a lot of these players somewhat absent at the beginning of their matches yesterday, so we'll just keep an eye on that to possibly be a bit of a recurring issue once again. We are live now though, so we'll be jumping back into the game camera in a second. And on this third round, as you expect, just a little bit of utility coming in here and there for mousesports. Beyond that, it's just the default pistols and a random P250 coming into the mix on Nex.
And a massive B stack to boot as well for mousesports. Maybe just hoping for the best. Again, when you're on these sort of rounds, there's very limited amounts you can achieve. Generally, some of the games for the last 2 days have been kind of curious in that sort of regard, but generally this is not a round you can do too much on. A little bit of damage here and there would be ideal, but those SMGs do very nicely against a team with absolutely no armor here. 2 nades and a flash, 1 for Speedy. It would have boosted up on short. Chris Jacoby placing 1 above him, and here comes the play. Nothing at the forefront with Stewie, and it's a nice cleanup. They do start reading into the stack. Really comfortable stuff. Short, a little low there for Stewie and Shroud, so they might want to be careful here, keep that armor in. Obviously, the guns aren't the main problem at this point. The bomb's going down, so 3 plants in the end for Cloud9 coming in, and another clean round for them. That's much better. The last 2 were a little bit close, losing out on a couple of people here and there, but that's going to nicely stabilize their economy going forward. And again, though, this is Mouse on the buy. This is where we want to see them coming back into it now.
Chris J with the op in hand. We'll see what he can work with that now here on the CT side. For the rest of the guys having no trouble whatsoever relying up the rifles and the corresponding utility to come in behind that now. Whereas Cloud9 choosing to actually stick specifically on Stewie with the SMG still to try and stack up some cash and obviously save a bit more in the coming rounds. I'm sure he'll be leading the charge for these guys. Just trying to pick up a few frags with it before possibly eventually going down via trade, but it won't be a big deal for him since he's had this gun ever since the second round now.
Yeah, and Scar also AWPing, but super passively here. Chris J was looking for this as well early on, but he might be pinched into by the players in underpass, so intuition may be playing a factor into that, but actually backing away from it at very good timing. Shroud and Nothing were just starting to work their way through. You see Chris J now kind of positioning over towards A, leaving Nico to hold mid a little more passively, and Cloud9 taking a very slow, methodical approach here, just going to get some mid control. They can build wherever they want to off the back of it, still with a great deal of utility to put into play.
And for Stewie, still not really going into the site just as yet, sort of just lurking around and making some noise here and there. They do work their way out from underpass though, and nobody checking up in the window, so Nico is just free to tap the head off of Nothing there and take him down first, finishing him off. And now Shroud kind of a bit hesitant to move in through the connector since they've been scouted out here.
Yeah, a little sloppy between Shroud and Slemmy there, neither of them particularly helping Nothing in that instance after he did give away his position with that molly through towards ladder room, so allowing Nico free information, that's one thing you definitely don't need to do, and already starting to look again towards mid-season. Nothing so far. Assuming maybe someone's pushed up in towards ladder room, but it's going to be that B hit. Nex and Spiddy will be waiting, and Nico not far off, but I don't think he needs to get there right now. Nex and Spiddy are doing just fine on their own 2 feet, as Stewie and Shroud are the first to fall on this B site hit.
Next, trying to finish things off now. Down to 8 HP, but Skadoodle as the last man tries to make a run for it. Nico, though, stops him in his tracks, says no to that one. You're going to move in, tries to recover the secondary out to work with here now, but won't be able to do that. Just a little bit too far out of his reach. So won't be picking that one up. Still will be working with the 4 rifles. No reason to waste an upgrade just as of yet, since they still have that in hand. So single up will be the name of the game still for mousesports here. And Cloud9 forcing up into this one. 3 AKs, a Tech 9 buy for Skadoodle, and a CZ on Slemmy.
So this time, let's see how they approach this. Chris J, he likes to go aggressive initially and towards mid. That could be caught out eventually, but so far, no one able to find a flaw in it, but it's going to be down to Dennis. Now, eventually, Chris J does like to generally come over and support him. Nico as well. They like to play kind of supportive later roles in this, and they're going to see those smokes coming in. They're going to maybe get an idea this could be a play off the back of it. 3-2 split again. Something they did in the pistol that worked very well, but this time, of course, mousesports armed with far greater weapons and a lot of utility. And they're going to play through the smoke, maybe trying to play towards a plant, trying to utilize those Tech 9s, those CZs as best they can, but they get ripped to shreds here. Mouse just denying them a step towards the side itself. Okay, Slemmy from Sandwich at least will find Dennis, but not without a response. Nico finds nothing, and Helly even finds Slemmy as well. This is another very clean round for mousesports. Now going to the buys, looking a lot better.
Validates now everything that Cloud9 forced up into in that last one, and obviously not really going to be able to justify going for it once again. So just upgrading the pistols this time, as we can see. And it's going to be very limited beyond that from Cloud9's end of things. Not really making any impact at all there, it would seem, in that last round. A bit unfortunate considering all that they brought into that one, but just shutting it down. mousesports with a very solid hold on an A site leads good omens for the future if they can keep that kind of a hold up, but splitting themselves up, almost just a complete slash down the map from the top left to the bottom right there, as they spread themselves out onto the B site and over down towards A as well. Chris J, boosted up in the ticket booth, though, is ready for this hit, and Cloud9 mainly going to be using smokes to get themselves onto the site. Finding a plant would be a big deal for them here, considering what they're bringing to the table. If they can get at least that, this round is basically going to be a success, and they're using those smokes to probably accomplish just this. Getting the early site control as well before they even find any kills is going to be great. Stewie moves in, picks up a frag against Chris J, but not before Dennis trades without into nothing.
Really nice work for the plant. Invested into the smokes, but down to 3 players with only Deagles and a Glock. Actually, with Scar just going to abscond away from this, obviously building towards that AWP as quickly as he can. Nothing going to come of it, and Stewie left to try and do anything in this, and, well, the spray with the Deagle goes about as well as expected in that one, just unleashing the clip towards it. And there we go. All saved, all recovered. The AWP that was dropped down from Chris J does get put back into the hands of the mousesports side, so lose out on very little here, and again, get the defuse. But I guess Cloud9, if that was what they were aiming for, just to get a plant, then they succeeded in that aspect.
And basically looking at that scoreboard we're seeing on everything proceeding as planned right now for these guys, with Stewie 2K leading the way. Nothing now, as of late in the past couple of weeks, becoming that secondary fragger, is up second on the scoreboard, and then segueing down from that point forward. But into another gun round we go for these guys. No AWP, unfortunately, coming into the hands of Skadoodle, but beyond that, they have no problems pulling off exactly what they want to do here.
Okay, so Stewie's going to deny Chris J the early peek towards ramp with a quick flash, but they are going to stick around for this, and he turns the follow-up flash, but Dennis, quick on the trigger, going to make the most of that, and there you go. Nico knows what's coming his way, but nothing punishes perfectly round the side of that smoke towards short, but there's 2 players ready and waiting to see if anyone dares go towards connector. Actually, Spitty could just drop himself into window if he fancies it. And Cloud9 now on the 1-for-1 trade should be able to build something out of this round.
That was a great frag from Dennis, too. I was watching that without the X-ray on, and Stewie had no time whatsoever to react to that. He basically just boiled out there like a phantom and absolutely decked him to the ground there. So nicely done finding the first kill, but it is traded back down, eliminating one of the key players from mousesports, knocking Nico out of this one, too. So Cloud9 taking things slowly now, but mousesports not really timid about it just as of yet. Speedy trying to hold things off inside of Darkroom. Again, though, it will just be a 1-for-1 trade. Nex walking right up onto Nothing. Nothing doesn't realize just how close Nex is playing that, and he's going to find an easy punishment onto him.
And seeing those 2 players towards short already gives away the game that they were looking towards B. It's meant that Trout's been pretty much picked up instantly. Skadoodle, though, can make a real go of this, but it doesn't equate to anything. Next shuts him out, and there we have it again. Good retake coming in from mousesports. Even though they lost out on Nico, they split the sites 2-2, and they worked off the back of it. So good stuff from them, even picking up the AWP as well. So that stays back into the mousesports' hands. Just kind of limited the reinvestments as well. And for Cloud9, they're coming close, just not quite closing out these rounds.
So now in this next one, a choice to be made looking at the money. They could definitely justify a force up here, and that's exactly what they are going to go for. Stewie and Slemmy do have to go down to the Galils, but everybody else will be looking at AK buys. This is quite a few times now where they have sort of stretched themselves out to these forces, so they're still not really leaving enough room, and I don't even really think we're seeing a consistent amount of plants here. They've been able to find them in the last 2 rounds, and that's the reason why they are able to go for the force here, but not really a lot of out presence coming in, so you're not having that factor play into this a lot on Skadoodle, and probably a few other key missing things. Like in this round, definitely a lot of lacking utility now. It's definitely going to weigh in heavily when they do tend to go for those more tactically heavy assaults onto the sites.
And they've put so much of their investment towards taking mid, and they've got 3 players up short, 2 working through B, but Next is pushed nice and close. This could be a huge hindrance here, but actually backs away from it, but he's stuck here at this point. He needs to take a fight on either side of things. Actually makes it towards the B side. That's kind of surprising, and still gets a kill towards Slemmy. Shroud's punished 1, but it's not enough. They trade out evenly, 2 for 2 in the end, but Cloud9 do have the side to hand finally.
With that now, the members of mousesports all going to be moving in from the A bomb site, in through market too. So it's very one-sided in the way the mousesports are going to be approaching this retake here. Cloud9 are prepared for it. Skadoola actually holding a very nice angle to spot them at first. He gets a little bit of damage off on the Dennis and Chris J. For the time being, he just holds them back though and acts as an info play. Nothing though, able to execute onto some of these players. A bit dodgy on that second kill. Skadoola comes in to assist and finishes off Dennis, but indeed, now this entire retaking force has been destroyed. So Nico is going to have to fall back and try to save the op.
And Shroud's not liking the idea of that. He could actually play here pretty nicely. If he wants to go hunting for it, he can, but again, let's remind ourselves, Cloud9's economy was not good, and it's not going to be even... Oh, they're not going to keep all 3, actually, at this point. Nothing getting found on the way out. Let's see how much they have. They're like 3.5, 4.1, so yeah, far from perfect. They can share the wealth out a little here, which should equate to a decent enough buy, but considering the money on Next is absolutely outstanding, it was over 10k at that point. They're back on a full, decent enough buy here. Nico going to be back on the double AWP as well with Chris J. So really, Cloud9 did need to keep hold of as many weapons as possible. Slemmy being on the CZ is a little bit of a loss here. And I wonder if mousesports going to punish this any further. That confidence. Look at Nico.
Just up on top of the railings there, and now jumping down. That smoke is set up perfectly for him to catch the cross. And he's already going to be punishing one of these guys. Nothing gets eliminated, and that is definitely going to sway anyone else on Cloud9 from moving back over to mid to try and get that intel. The rest of them, though, just line up for a direct play. And Chris J himself as well is pretty far pushed up right now, but he's going to be rewarded. Finds the first kill. They are not going to expect Dennis to be inside of there once that first kill comes out. A lot of aggressive positioning from the side of mousesports, so they're working out good so far, but Stewie's going to try to round this on its heels and bring it back under the control of Cloud9 as they work their way in. The smokes come out. They have a little bit more room to work with now because of this one. And Nico's actually going to get pushed back, but the Next holds the line, takes down Stewie when he tries to get aggressive, and now it's just Shroud in a 1-on-4.
And as soon as Dennis and Chris J won that battle, this has become increasingly almost impossible by now. Shroud is fighting the good fight as best he can, but with 50-odd seconds left, the bomb's still down by ramp. The flashes are coming through thick and fast. He knows he is outnumbered massively here. This would need some hero-level performance, and I think we all know this is starting to run out of, well, let's say, possibility.
40 seconds left. And keep in mind, too, that Shroud doesn't even have the bomb under his control, so Nico is eventually just going to find the back of him, picking him down, and Shroud's time playing around there on the A site does finally run thin enough to give mousesports the lead. Now 5-4. No trouble to rebuild that economy, and now a double op setup coming in here as well, whereas for Cloud9, right back down to the bottom, and actually, no, they're forcing up again. Just going right into the mix here. Shroud is an AK, but beyond that, it's Tech-9s and P250s.
Oh, this is going to be one of those games. It is close score-wise, but then again, Cloud9 did win that pistol, so it's kind of hard to read into it. Those gun rounds, as soon as they came through, it's been pretty one-sided. Are they even close to breaking the economy of mousesports? No.
They could still force pretty well if they manage to win this one round by killing everybody on mousesports. So it's not even really justifiable in that regard as of yet. So it is a bit strange to see them going for it. I'm guessing it's now just a struggle to keep the scoreline close.
Again, mousesports just sitting so far back. Look at this passive hold on A as well. Dennis all the way down by ticket booth. Nico super far back by jungle. Just watching the push out from Palace there. Doesn't need to commit to these. The retakes have been pretty much good enough from mousesports already. A couple of close rounds. I think there's one pretty much held. That B take is really well held actually by Cloud9, but outside of that, they've not been really holding on to much. And considering they only have, what, one rifle to work with, which is on Shroud, he needs to be huge in this round. He needs to find some real impact here. They're going to go for, well, not necessarily a default A, but an A push nonetheless.
It's denied, though.
They're already, look at this. Look at the amount of flashes that come in. They're just slowing them down. They know what's coming their way. And again, another flash just slows them down. It allows time for these smokes to dissipate, and Mouse gets to great positions. Nico's going walkabouts. Nico and Nothing are right next to each other. Nothing just backs away from that, gets a little bit scared. And I don't blame him either, but it's retake time now for mousesports. And these have been pretty on point so far.
They're going to try to do this tricky boost here now. Chris J up on top of the spools. Nico struck first, though. And now they're just going to cancel this entirely since they finally got a footing. Cloud9 very passive with their hold and their general post-plant positioning now as they've gone way off of the site. They did find a plant, so again, that extra income coming in, but now now it's time to hold it, and they're doing an absolutely awful job at doing this. No kills against anybody on mousesports, and Slemmy just going to run for it now. No way he can stop that defuse. Everybody on mousesports stays alive, and basically everybody on Cloud9 dies. At the very least, Slemmy saves the AK, but still, it's not going to leave you with much, even with that plant.
Very thin silver lining there, isn't it? Keeping hold of that AK, just not great. Again, these retakes from mousesports, though, have been really crisp. Really liking it. Nico finding the first in that, if I'm not mistaken, and then kind of everyone just followed in from the back of it. And sadly for Cloud9, it just looks a little, I guess, I don't know, a bark without a bite to follow. But plants still keep them at least competitively in this game, money-wise. They're going to be building back into this, hopefully. They are going to forego completely investing into a round, thank God for that, if I'm honest. They do have the P250s, a deagle or two, just to supplement Stewie here, who's actually going to pick up the rifle for himself.
Stewie out to the open here now, looking for the first mark, but can't take it down. Dennis picking up the kill against Stewie, and even moving forward now, also going to get some more support as it works its way out from the Palace way there. Nico, in the meantime, chiming in with his first frag on a Skadoodle, and already the entire offensive force has just been brought down to nothing. Speaking of nothing, he's also down at 17 HP right now, so there's not a whole lot he's going to be able to do with that AK, and we'll be tossing it over, I believe, into the hands of one of his teammates once he can regroup with them. And there we go, so let me fix it up.
Yeah, 1 minute to do something with, and they caused 0 rotations. The 2 players who were at A early on handled what they brought already, so you've still got Chris J next and Spiddy, all by B. Now Spiddy's, I think he was just jump spotting that, and he still is, just down by the truck. You've got Chris J up on short, and then next kind of playing by the kitchen area. So all are close enough, and no one feeling pressured from mousesports, and they have no real reason to. Sure, okay, Slemmy can be a difference maker here because he does retain the armor. That's going to be the big difference, and you can see how well that's gone. Chris J just turns his attention towards those apartments, and well, that's all she wrote.
I was going to say Speedy tends to be, or at least from what we've seen so far, he's tended to be the weakest player, the weakest link on mousesports, so maybe there was a chance they could take him down at the very least and sneak onto that site, but they wait too long to actually go over the execute, and then we see players like Chris J and whatnot rotating back in, and it just denies any hope of them rushing into that bomb site to find the plant. So nothing to be picked up that time. It is going to be a tactical pause now coming in. No need to worry, guys. No more issues with the headsets just as of yet. But Cloud9, this is a good time to do it as they are starting to fall behind big time. Some somewhat odd, in my opinion, buy decisions being made here from round to round. Just taking a few moments to recenter themselves and discuss what may be going wrong so far on this T side.
And it's going to be an interesting discussion as well because so far they're not handling the retakes. They're getting some mid control, but then actually pushing the sites has been incredibly difficult. It's going to be a hard answer to come up with, in my opinion, because they're kind of getting what they're intending for, but then they just can't make that final hurdle, whether it be due to lack of communication, badly holding down these sites, whatever it is, or maybe just individuals not landing shots as quickly or as well as they'd need to be able to maintain this. It just means that double AWP's going to retain in play, and considering most people would argue that on a double AWP you go for a default A take or something to negate his presence, to be fair, mousesports haven't been floundering at all on that. Every default that's been brought out by Cloud9 has been met by perfect force from mousesports, where there was that a bit of aggression from Chris J and Dennis on ramp. They're showing some real versatility in their play, which is just kind of, I guess, going straight back into the pockets of mousesports. Hence the scoreline 7-4 at the moment. Skadoodles does have the AWP though, so we're hoping maybe he can be a bit of difference maker, maybe denial or whatever that retake presence, I guess. We're going to have to find out. We're back into the game here, and a lot of unanswered questions now. Can Cloud9 come up with the goods here? They definitely need to. And Nico is back on patrol in mid.
Skadoodle as well, now back with the AWP. And this was kind of a key factor back in that flipside matchup too, is that we were never really able to see World that had picked that up. And with him being such a key factor as of late for flipside, it overall led to a pretty bad performance from them overall on the CT side, and then that was never really recovered in the second half for those guys. So Cloud9 with that at the helm, we'll see if they can work anything with it this time. Shroud making a lot of noise down below here, but not going to be attracting any attention just as of yet, as the rest of the team is hanging out at the moment here in their top mid.
And again, mousesports give them a fair bit of control. Well, not necessarily control in mid, but they give them a glance towards mid. They say, well, we're not going to openly challenge you. We're not going to take these open fights. They back away from it. As soon as that window gets smoked out, they back away. But Chris J likes doing this, and this is something that we've seen Chris J do for a long time before, and he's not going to be checked. Shroud is the first to fall. Nothing just about escapes with his life, as already you see Chris J falling back from this, but it's going to result in a default towards A, but then you go from one beast to another. You go from Chris J to Nico. These AWPs are tearing them apart at the moment. Dennis holding close, just watching the Palace push, leaving the rest to Nico, who actually falters. Suddenly we have a bit of a challenger on board, but then again there's still Dennis, and Dennis is doing everything he needs to, and it's all now into the hands of Slemmy in a 1v3. And well, that's about as well as it can go.
Chris J, stopping that from going anywhere in Slimmy's favor. He will take him down pretty promptly. And I mean, again, from Cloud9, it just seemed so detached in the way that they wanted to approach that bomb site take. At the beginning, going in 1 by 1, obviously Shroud getting knocked out there from the top up there from Chris J right at the start as he gets himself up on top of the boxes there on the corner on Catwalk. And then from that point forward, some more guys walk in through the connector. They get knocked out pretty quickly. And the actual taking force coming back in from T-Ramp is just destroyed because it's fairly obvious from that point forward. So a very lackluster style to that take from Cloud9 makes it very easy to read from mousesports and essentially just doesn't go anywhere at all.
Look at this confidence now with Mouse in case they needed more. Dennis probably would have wanted to be able to hit that second shot there, just spraying into a Shroud in underpass. But every single time, it may not be quite the aggression we saw from other teams on Mirage so far on the CT side with a straight up mid, for example. But it's still more than enough to completely put off Cloud9, who are going to go for the speed take. Good flash towards Next, going to force him off here, but there's still 2 players. Make it 3, very, very present. One being Nico towards Kitchen, Spitty holding by bench, and there's that crossfire perfectly playing. There's not even a step towards the side itself, and denied so quickly again.
And now this is an issue for Cloud9. They've already taken the tactical pause. It doesn't really seem to have had a good effect as of yet here, and mousesports still seem to be in full control of all of these bomb sites. Previously, where we had Cloud9 getting a semi-decent amount of plants, getting about 3 in a row a couple rounds back, we've only seen 1 in the past 5 rounds actually going onto the ground there. Beyond that, it's just been mousesports having full control of these sites. Cloud9 basically getting nowhere, not even really finding any frags whatsoever too. They're really only bringing them down to about 3 players at the worst, and beyond that, they're surviving with almost 5 players in every single round, so there's so much cash flow. And I think at the beginning of this one, Chris J was maxed out at 16K.
Well, hopefully, at least for him, he gets to reinvest. You know, enjoy the money he's been building up. As finally we see nothing actually AWPing. I assume he's picked that off Skadoodle anyway, so it's that would have been a bit of an interesting one. But if nothing's starting to have more success than Skadoodle is, that gets worrying. But look at this again, Dennis. If he doesn't even get the kills here, information will be found and then some. He's going to see possibly the bomb and Slemmy. Slemmy above, and the timing on that. Dennis, if only you knew. But he's so aware this could still be a possibility. He hasn't been able to check towards Palace. Stewie's up there and waiting. And Dennis just carefully playing towards the edge of this, but he's going to go back and he's going to see them. So now he knows what's possibly coming his way. I imagine Stewie's pretty tempted to try and punish Dennis there, but he doesn't in the end. He allows him to escape. And I think he's just seen him go towards Dark. So smoke goes up and over towards Palace, and everyone else can start putting their attention towards Ramp.
Nico waiting for the ramp push to come back in, but he's actually going to change his point of view very, very quickly, and he'll succeed in picking up the shot on the Stewie. Now he's been smoked off, though, so can't spot much, and he's having some trouble jumping down there, too. Or apologies, Dennis is, but nonetheless, gets himself down below and starts fragging once again. Even Speedy jumping out there, too, getting a piece of the action. Destroys nothing in Shroud, and again, it starts off okay. They seem to be making that momentum, finding a couple trades here and there, but at the end of the day, mousesports just comes out swinging and stops any momentum that Cloud9 would have made earlier on in the round. And
it seems incredibly disjointed. No one's able to take clean fights. It's one piece of crossfire to the other, all coming into place, and no one's been able to put it out of position. It's kind of sad to watch it. Bearing in mind, Cloud9 put up the first 3 rounds on the pistol. You know, that was pretty good. You know, you start to think, okay, they're off to a good start. But since then, since the guns have come out to play for mousesports, nice next. They've just kind of been coasting in this. But again, mid control going to come out now. Skadoodle, Slemmy, Stewie, all heading up there. At least 2 are, Stewie and Slemmy. One going to get in towards ladder room. Just kind of a little bit of back thought there into the back of the minds of mousesports, keeping Dennis attentive towards it. But this side push still isn't coming through cleanly. They have the Galils, but 0 utility, and just walking right into Mouse.
Again, already 2 kills out on the board in the favor of mousesports, and they've basically given mousesports 0 pressure. Next, doesn't matter that they're going to be jumping down. Look at this. Cloud9 just look like an absolute mess right now as we conclude the final round. Nothing trying to turn this around on its heels, but that's not going to work. Chris J immediately pops him off, takes him down, and with that, it's going to be an 11-4 half in the favor of mousesports.
Yeah, so mousesports going into the second half very soon will be going with a substantial lead. So guys, do stay tuned. We'll be back to if Cloud9 can claw anything back here. Welcome back. We are at indeed 11-4 on the half. mousesports with a blistering lead so far, and Cloud9, outside of the first 3 rounds, only managing 1. So, Blue, this is... Considering we thought Cloud9 had a lot of the, let's say, win conditions they needed in the right place to do some damage here, this is a very underwhelming performance.
Yeah, definitely, and I think exactly what I was expecting from mousesports, or exactly what I needed to see from mousesports, it's happened. We're seeing great performances across the board. It's not just the Nico show here, like it's sort of just been rumored, or not even rumored, like it's sort of just been over the past couple of months now. We've seen great performances from pretty much everybody on this side, stepping up when they need to be and remaining fairly consistent. It was like just an iron wall on the A-bomb site, and to a certain degree on the B-bomb site too, and the few times Cloud9 attempted to go for it. Cloud9 just made 0 progress whatsoever on trying to break into those sites, get the plants, and even in post-plants, when retakes were needed, mousesports were almost flawless in that regard as well. So a really good CT side, and now we can see if they can carry that over here onto the T side as well. I might have made a mistake subscribing to the Cloud9 hype train.
So what happens? Anytime we have faith in NA, it's just like, no.
Just
But
constantly
this
disappointing.
This is good. This is a, they've got a whole kill. No, they didn't get a whole kill. They kind of traded 1 for 1 in the end. But I got excited. But anyway, mousesports are on the T side.
Happen again.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect case on point. But no, this is still very much early into the round. So Nico going down is certainly a big impact. If you want to take down one player, you'd be pretty happy it's Nico on a pistol round. So again, let's see if mousesports can recover this one and pull themselves back into, well, being large and in charge at the moment. So we Shroud to receive if they do hit that B site.
So for now, the smoke, a single lonely smoke, gonna roll into the B-bomb site, give them a bit of coverage. More on the way, sitting behind that first smoke, and as they go in, it's up to Shroud to try and hold the line, getting some good damage in, but no frags. Chris J taking him down. Skadoodle, though, actually takes out Chris J there, and Dennis taking them down 1 for 1 each. And now Speedy and Nex are the last 2 up and rolling. Nex is responding, but now Stewie back into the mix too. He's trying to hold this one in the corner, up close and personal though. Skadoodle's going to finish him off, and with that one, Skadoodle pulls off an amazing pistol round and gives Cloud9 the edge again here in the second half.
And I wish I could say that looked like Cloud9 playing together well as a team rather than an individual having a good round, but that was Skadoodle just going up pretty much a solo mission. 4 kills that round, really well played, but the crossfire that was in play between, what was it, Short, and then Shroud was sitting by bench, it was just so lackluster. No one actually fell into it, apart from, as said, Skadoodle was barreling out and doing the damage. So I don't know, this is not a good sign, and I think mousesports are going to force right into this one. Let's see how they take themselves into this round. Again, these guys are incredibly well constructed on this. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a massive plan in mind here, or if they just barrel through with those Tech 9s. They have a lot of utility, though, that can be used to create a rather interesting display towards these sort of maps. And Shroud, with that scout, better be on point. You see in the arm. There we go.
See if he can pull off any extra shots here. Some damage going on to Chris J, and the molly going out too, but missing the first jump scout when they get up close and personal. Slemmy's there with the rifle though, and nicely done. Skadoodle coming into this one as well. They're giving them no progress whatsoever. Nico though, surprise, he's coming in through the arches, but he's only going to find 1 kill. Slemmy immediately trades him back out, and they've seen Chris J trying to sneak his way over here and find some frags. So Skadoodle is going to take him down as well. Cloud9 do come together this second with minimal losses coming into the fray.
Yeah, early information being found then by Shroud was certainly going to help that. As soon as you saw that little bit of, I think you can see a bit of the arm there when you're doing the jump peek, he can call for the support. Everyone comes over, at least the vast majority do. So exactly what Cloud9 need, as mousesports is still on 11. Cloud9 make it to 6, but a very clean round here for mousesports.
Did you say exactly what Cloud9 meme?
I don't even know anymore. The memes are too strong for me. I can't even deal with it. But yeah, it looks like mousesports just going to barrel in. I think they want to just feed this one right through.
So already starting off there pretty badly with Dennis getting hit from the long-range scout shot. However, Dennis sneaks right through there. They're not paying attention for a window boost, and all of a sudden nothing's dead on the ground. Now, though, they're going to have to hold this site against the pressure and actually figure out where the take is going to be coming in from, because mousesports themselves held back a little bit more. There's Stewie, though, responding with his own first pickup. Takes Dennis out of the picture. And more peeks to be found from Skadoodle in a moment there. Him and Stewie tag team takedown next. And Stewie just seems to have everything under control with his own UMP.
Yeah, Skadoodle tagging them up, Stewie dropping them down. Chris J and Nico, your 2 last men standing for mousesports in this one. Still find a way through towards Stewie, and here comes the lurk from Nico. This is suddenly looking worse and worse and a little bit more costly. Slemmy not aware of this possibility, gets completely and utterly punished. Shroud should be the one to deal with it, but look at this fight from Nico. It's still so competitive and still so deadly. Nico left on 17 HP, shouldn't have too much success here, but then already this round should have been a bit of a throwaway almost. mousesports freely getting to window, be able to cause so much havoc was such an issue, but then this is probably the last player you ever want to face in these instances.
And Nico now sneaking his way in, hoping to find something, but there's a surprise waiting around the corner just across from the sandwich. Skadoodle is there. He's ready to take him down. Nico calls off the peek from the top of the stairway, but he needs to go for this soon. 20 seconds left on the clock. Making sure he retrieves the bomb first, but as soon as he peeks, Skadoodle spots him. And he's going to grab mid-air with the USP to close out the round for C9.
11-7. The opening pistol round was no real bother for Cloud9 either on their first half. Beyond that, that's when the issues started to begin. This time, though, mousesports do have the lead, but Cloud9 have brought back the scoreline enough that they have a little bit of a buffer here to play with. Again, though, weapon's not ideal at this point. Still a scout with Stewie. Famous with Shroud. Good utility to boot, though. Looks like maybe an A hit going to come out here pretty quickly. Next, and Dennis already pushed up pretty far on towards Ramp, looking for a very quick start here, but Cloud9 kind of sticking away from A, not really buying into what mousesports are trying to sell. Maybe going to play on the retake here, but the smoke's going towards mid, but that's not where they're focusing, and actually, it draws out the likes of Skadoodle and nothing. Be really rather attentive through by jungle. This could be a bit of a problem here. No one being spotted out just yet, but they're finally mousesports catch a glimpse. Slemmy falls. Stewie left on 1 HP. Dennis just going to head straight through. Dennis wants blood. He can smell that these guys are looking a little worse for wear, that they're bleeding, hemorrhaging at the sides, and Dennis now in a perfect position. Look at that. Just puts himself there perfectly, and now the rest of the players are shut out. However, that bomb is in a tricky spot.
Stewie at 1 HP, going to have to try and affect himself in some way in this round, but now he's lost his teammate as well. Nothing goes down. 4 still up and rolling here for mousesports, and they're just going to end this via DNM, it seems. Lurking around the flank there. Dennis actually is going to get denied as he tries to lurk back through CT there. Shroud shuts him down, and somehow they're holding this off. There's a good shot coming out from Stewie, but he's got to be careful with the fire. 1 HP. Can't even get close to that one. Another flashbang rolls back in there. Still not finding any connections onto him just as of yet, but he may meet his fate very, very shortly here. No, he's somehow still alive. Gets some more damage out of the mix too. They're all so low on both sides of this one. It's incredible that neither team has just been outright eliminated as of yet, but Shroud pushing in. There's one pickup for him. A second one comes in from Stewie. Chris J responds with the Shroud, waits for the peak, and he's going to close this out with a big clutch from him. The first gun round goes into the favor of Cloud9.
Finally, Cloud9 show that they can actually compete in this game. It seemed like a long time in the making, but as I said, that damage was pretty insane coming through, so eventually they do manage to do enough to get back into it. But even allowing players to this position just worries me intently, and look at this. Stewie so low here, but eventually does manage to close it out with Shroud in the end. Really nicely done. But 11-8, Cloud9, it's not over. They're fighting this one as hard as they can, but it is a long and treacherous road, and mousesports, you don't want to get them riled up. They can certainly do incredible work here. It's like all players throughout. They're just going to go strain on these fights, maybe. I'm not too sure what this is. That nade! Huge damage comes out. Skadoodle's aware of what's coming his way. Misses the first shot. He had to hit that. Even going to go back in for more. Daring to do more, but it's Stewie to come over the top. Peeks him from the stairs. Catches out Dennis. Nothing towards next. And this push from mousesports is being held before it even started. Speedy the only one to respond, but now Nico's broken free. But they're down to 2 against 3.
Now moving back in here, Nico going to try to find a position on the site so they can get that plant. Another nade coming in though, and a little bit too far, but it still actually impacts very big on Speedy. Brings him down to just only 15 HP. Nico hit by a little bit as well, and he's going to go down to the first player. He tries to peek aggressively. Shroud taking him out. Speedy trying to move out to take down nothing, but he's hiding safely in the cubby. And Slemmy walks up the steps, knocks him out. We will again see Cloud9 pulling off the retake in the 3-on-2.
Perfectly done by them. The fight at ramp just worked so well for them. Able to hold them up. The flashes were pretty consistent. No one able to push through on their own. No one able to find clean fights. Good discipline coming out from the likes of Shroud as well. Just playing very passively, taking his time in CT, not overcommitting, not making mistakes like that. And mousesports now are going to have to start waking up, not thinking, okay, well, that was a clean half. You know, we're on an easy ride. This is like, okay, we've got a game on our hands now. 11-9. This scoreline's getting much and much closer. Back on the buy, though. No AWP coming in for Chris J. But all rifles can definitely do the job here. But Cloud9 putting up a big performance now.
Going back 2 rounds back as well, it's pretty amazing to me that somehow Stewie didn't end up going down with only 1 HP. He gets a total of somewhere between like 70 to 90 damage while still at that 1 HP mark before finally going down. So impressive stuff from him a couple rounds back, and a bit disappointing that there wasn't a bullet or 2 that managed to just hit him through a box or something, even with that Molotov there as well. Would have forced him into a bit of a tricky situation. They would have been able to punish it, but it doesn't happen. And then Shroud is able to close out with a higher health pool. However, Slemmy pushes out, doesn't realize just how close Chris J is to him, though. And Chris J is going to find that first mark to take him down.
Kind of interesting choice by Slemmy then, just to go try and fight mid after not knowing how many were there or where he could get to. I guess it was just a bit of a Rambo play on his own, but not exactly brilliant to put yourself in a 4v5 at this point. Hard enough as the CT team just to sit there with very little information. It looks like Mouse are going to try and adapt around this. They know that Slemmy being taken down has probably weakened that B site at least a little bit towards short. Skadoodle's starting to wonder where these guys are, and Dennis again lurking quite nicely here and towards Connector. Could do some opening play towards 8. And no real commitment though from mousesports. They do start to work their way through the map, but they do fall back off it as well.
And Skadoodle watching to make sure there's going to be no pressure coming in his direction as of yet. Mousesports, though, with a dangerous amount of control of the general middle area of the map, they can actually drive a wedge from the B rotators, and that peek from Skadoodle at a very odd angle, it seems. Nico is able to take down Skadoodle from that one. Nico burning a bit with the molly, but then jumping up on top of the trip stack, takes down Stewie, moving out. Being a little bit greedy there, so Shroud is finally going to punish that, but the damage has already been done. Shroud and Nothing, the last two left alive. Nothing's able to win his first 1v1, but at the heavy cost, he's down at 17 HP, and with Dennis taking down Shroud, Nothing might just have to fall back and save now.
I'm still kind of going to harp back to Slemmy maybe overreacting a little bit in mid. They're desperate for the information for the play off the back of it, but didn't need to overextend as such, didn't need to kind of take such a risk for it. And once they did that, you could see mousesports just filtering themselves throughout mid, trying to split up the Cloud9 guys, trying to find those individual fights that do open up this map so desperately. And there we have it. So the bomb going to be easily planted, easily done for. Another round on the board for mousesports here, finally breaking back in on their T side after a bit of a struggle, actually. Nothing I don't think is going to be found yet. No one really hunting towards B, so he'll be able to keep that. But still, this is going to be a rough ride now. mousesports, if they start feeling confident, and they've got the AWP here with next, excuse me, that's going to allow a little bit more room for Chris J to work with.
So again, here, the guys from mousesports finally able to find some footing to work with after Cloud9 wins so many rounds in a row and get a booming start to this half to bring the scoreline much closer, giving them a chance to really get back into this game. Now they need to show that they can brawl with them a little bit here. And the buy-up from the CTs now is going to empty them out dry, essentially. Slemmy is able to get a FAMAS drop to him. As you can see, so many guns donated to other members of the team because the money was so uneven here. It's going to lead to a very odd buy. Shroud with a scout, Skadoodle working with an op, but Skadoodle's going to strike first there, able to take down Speedy. This will definitely help them and alleviate some of that pressure they may have had to dealt with mousesports' much better buy.
Chris J can find a pick here. Again though, Cloud9 haven't been, excluding Slemmy just deciding to walk out short, haven't been really paying too much active attention towards mid, so as you can see, like, Skadoodle's super passive here. It's going to allow Chris J little room to operate through mid, but he could easily make a big impact on these sites. We'll see. The hits have been coming in pretty decently from mousesports generally on their execution when they go towards these sites. Going to choose to cut off one of the angles he's going to have to deal with. He does have support from Nico to watch the short play if and when anyone comes from it, but just completely ignoring the fact of connector there and working their way out towards short. The bomb's still at the top of mid though, so this is very much an interesting play so far from Mouse with very little commitment, even though they are so far up in that this could be deadly though.
Chris J not spotting anything just as of yet.
We're helping up and down.
Both of the members of Cloud9 on the site looking for something there, and Crowd spots it first, but doesn't look like he's actually going to make any hits there. Mousesports to the full HP. Chris J strikes first again, up on top of those boxes there, taking down Shroud, punishing him for all that constant jumping. Slemmy as well, tossing out his own smoke, looking to spray through that one. Won't be finding anything as of yet. Dennis having some better luck closer to the A side, but this is not where the action is happening. They need to get into the B bomb set right now. Skadoodle striking back once again, finds a shot on a Nico. Now Dennis, though, coming in on this flank, and there is currently nobody suspecting anything like this. He's being a bit cautious with it, though, hiding on the outside now. And look at this, for nothing, he just walks right up and kills Nex and Chris J. 3 seconds left on the clock. Now what's Dennis going to do? And I even think he screwed up that jump, so they know he's here. Finds that kill, but he's out of time, and Skadoodle's going to take him down. What just happened at the end of that round?
How are you allowed to do that? How are there two people on site, one planting? What is the other guy doing there? Chris?
Where was Dennis at, too? Because Dennis was primed to push into market. He would have ended that round. Nobody was watching for that flank. He doesn't know this, obviously, but still, like, it's so weird to have him wait outside, especially considering that Chris didn't really seem to be paying attention to that angle.
These games. 12 to 10, Cloud9. Getting back into this, be it from their own kind of their play and some questionable choices from mousesports. I guess unforced errors and such do come into question here, but Stewie looking to make some money. Going to do so towards Dennis. And the last time did manage to boost in towards window, cause a little bit of havoc amongst the Cloud9 guys, but this time not looking so likely to do so. Skadoodle's holding pretty passively, but he's still very much into this, denying that possibility from happening. So it will be Chris J next and Speedy looking for other opportunities here through connector. Good little flash, but doesn't actually connect, but it doesn't matter. Stewie's doing well enough with that MP9, and he's still got nothing to help him out.
Nothing trying to tap through the plywood there, hoping he can catch somebody from mousesports getting up close. Stewie, though, the pop-off takes Nex down just as he gets close to the little arches there, and then Slemmy's going to find the last one from longer range. Cloud9 have fought back from the brink, and with a couple mistakes, very odd ones popping in from mousesports, and now within 1 round of tying themselves up against the Germans.
Okay. I'm wondering when this will stop, you know? So I'm just wondering, I'm just waiting. You know, Cloud9 are playing really well, and I don't want this to take away from them, but the point is that mousesports are making so many strange choices that you don't expect from mousesports in a way. It's normally mousesports being quite clinical about these things, but they are definitely finding some real flaws here on their side, but Cloud9 credit to them for abusing it completely and utterly, not allowing them to get away with these sort of plays, and the bite. A little bit here, there, and everywhere for mousesports. 2 Tech 9s, 2 rifles in the AWP with Chris J, but on the other side, you've still got Stewie going on for the MP9, and well, he's going to be just straight up destroyed by Nex on the Tech 9, so not particularly going too well for him. Mouse looking to respond pretty quickly, but don't make the way through. They switch up a bit of position here. Chris J, Spitty, going to be flashed in by Nico, and they're going to go for a quick play towards A, and it's going to be Chris J facing down against Skadoodle. The smoke's still into place, but they need to make that cross soon enough. They're running out of options here. Nex does have 1 smoke, but that is not in place, and that's going to allow nothing to come back into this as well. He's still allowed to be around this. Nico's found Skadoodle, and suddenly it's all falling apart. They've been allowed back into this round. Nothing's not able to do anymore. He's found Spitty, but that's about it, and there's Chris J to find Shroud, and these rounds are just so strangely constructed. From both sides.
It would make sense, of course, that Cloud9 get within 1 round of tying, and then suddenly mousesports wake up and start to pick up some more there. So finally realizing that, all right, this is getting a bit drastic now. mousesports do come in with some good aggression over towards the A-bomb site, and now we're able to retake the helm once more, at least for now, but Cloud9 are not broken yet either, so they're definitely not in the clear. The vibe coming in from these guys, Skadoodle's got to go for the glass cannon up. Beyond that, you're still looking at 4 rifles and semi-decent utility for the majority of the CT-sided players.
Yeah, 13 to 11, you do start to think Cloud9 have to keep this one in check. Starts to spiral any further, they won't have any room to breathe. It'll be just game over by that point, and they'd have thrown away what was starting to look like a decent comeback here. And mousesports waiting patiently. Nice angle from Slemmy here. This could be pretty nice damage if they do actually push any further, but imagine there'll be a little boost coming out again. This is something they do on such a regular basis. I'm not sure if Slemmy's aware of it as well. Oh, he's going to see it now, definitely. And both readjust. Actually, no, tell a lie. Chris J still sticks out on this spot. Maybe looking to exploit even further the pressure he can bring from being there.
For now, though, the shot going to ring back over in the other direction, and Chris J is going to find the first kill as well. Working his way in, takes down Shroud. Somebody does have a response to that one, and Stewie as well is going to take out a player that tried to get aggressive, pushing into the A-bomb site. Skadoodle, though, is under so much pressure as he works his way in. He will be eliminated by Nex. Slemmy, though, is still the main driving force for this team and is somehow still alive, also managing to stop the bomb from going onto the ground as of yet. More than moving into retake control. It's a bit of an awkward shuffle, but Nex finds his target, takes down Slemmy, and all of a sudden there's silence on the battlefield. Stewie and Nothing try to take down the remaining members from mousesports.
So in theory, Stewie can knock down Nex, and Nothing needs to locate or be able to deal with Chris J depending on how they play this. You can see Nothing looking for this, trying to get some info on it. Now he in the bomb plant, they know that Chris J is pretty much solo on the site, but how do you play into that? He's probably got an AWP, he's probably going to be watching for this sort of play. Flash comes out, Nothing just turns it. Plant goes in again. Stewie's got to know where Nex is. He's not been able to push out from that. Stewie's still checking towards short. He's just going to go barreling into this, and no one's checking for Nex. Nex has complete freedom. Nothing finds Nex, and it's going to be Chris J towards Nothing. And the information that Cloud9 possibly had was just wasted there. And mousesports pull it off. We're on to 14 to 11. And sadly for Cloud9, they have no one to blame but themselves on that.
And now as well, the force coming in there. This one's going to have to be an eco if they want to try to buy up on that final round. And it's also going to need to be 4 straight in a row just to take it into OT here. If we assume, of course, that mousesports will have no troubles picking up the victory on this round. With the buy from Cloud9, though, it would be an absolute miracle if they could somehow hold this offense. Just P250s, 2 flashbangs, and a smoke on Slemmy. That's all they've got to work with here. So we'll see what kind of a strat they're going to employ towards. It's going to be much more aggressive out from the B site, trying to take some control on Cat, but beyond that, default positions being held in A and mid.
I love this, though, from mousesports. They're just going, okay, well, we know the money's going to be absolutely shattered, so let's just chill out. You know, if they try and do like a crazy push or something, we'll just sit back. We've got all the time in the world now. We're back into that good point. But again, mousesports sometimes seem to get hap-handed when they get to that point, so hopefully they don't let it slip too far, but they can afford to just chill out and let this one go for a little bit. See if anyone's going to play up mid. Is there any of that ramp aggression that they did so well on before? No. At the moment, Cloud9 being very, very standard about this. They've fallen away from that B aggression, gone back to standard. Well, I say standard. They have such an attention towards B. Maybe just going to play retake on A if needed, but on pistols, you're going to be working with so little anyway. It's going to be tough to do so, but mousesports eventually going to have to make their minds up here. 50 seconds remain. They need to start looking towards one of these sites.
Moving out now, Dennis here in mid, taking the helm of things, but for Cloud9, actually, there's essentially zero presence here for these guys. Nothing. Hiding back around the corner there. Probably be the first person to try and stop any of this from going in, but still trying to decide on the site itself. It actually looks like it's going to be working its way into A. That's actually a really well-placed molly. And now by going into the A-bomb site, they have killed any chances of Cloud9 trying to hold this back off because they went for the wrist stack. 4 on the B-bomb site, only leaving Slemmy here to defend A. And he's basically just going to have to go down right there on his first initial peek. It's win or lose, sink or swim. Dennis does take him down, though. And although the other 4 are going to move in very quickly to try and pull off a retake, them being smoked off, with them only having P250s, odds are very low. Although Stewie does start things off quite well with his first pickup on a Chris J. Now, though, the dominoes start to fall as Nico and Dennis trade out 2 more.
Yeah, Rifles holding angles like this. You've even got Next still down by Ram just in case it comes towards that sort of thing. But actually, Skadoodle's managed to keep an AWP. So if you have to take that away, isn't the West in the mod, the money's really, really not good for Cloud9. So any sort of recovery position for them is actually pretty decent. So he just needs to stay alive and keep hold of this. Stewie's going to make a mad dash for it. Just why not, I guess, if he can do anything. Ooh. Wow, okay, hello, Stewie. That was sick. Just flies in with the P250. I wish he could do that more often, but not the case.
What was that?
I don't know. I've never.
The worst thing is too is like there's a gun on the ground and I guess he knows he's dead meat regardless.
Yeah,
but
exactly. CS:GO things. All right, this is the buy. Skadoodle's going to be able to keep the AWP, and otherwise, okay, nothing can buy for himself. But he's going to go for full utility, I assume. Yeah, well, as much as he can do. Yeah, this is going to be it. So, well, Cloud9, you brought it back closely, but they need to do so much more now. Mouse starting to warm up, starting to look a little bit better than they were before. 3-2 split now. Chris J, Dennis, and Next instantly going up mid. This is a bit of a pressure play coming out, and Cloud9 have to be ready for this.
Skadoodle actually going to be boosted up. We've seen Chris J use his position numerous times. Nothing, though. Finds the first strike, taking down Dennis. Looking for some more here at the moment. Nico striking back, and as does Next. It's not looking good for C9. 4-on-3 situation. Slemmy bouncing it back, and he's going to find 2. Chris J and Next both go down. It's into Speedy. Just Speedy's hands now as Skadoodle's found another op pick against Nico. Speedy looking for a start here, and he's going to find it against Slemmy. Also going for a very early plant as well. He's in position. Doesn't feel secure to go for it just as of yet, though, and Skadoodle just a few pixels north of a headshot there. Would have found it through the box and out in the open.
Oh,
there's
God,
one more
no.
pickup. He's only got 1 to go, but it's against Skadoodle here. As he pushes up on top, Skadoodle is going to find the shot. And with that, that keeps Cloud9 in this game for a little bit longer.
What a saving grace play from Slemmy and Skadoodle, coming back off short, working their way in towards A. And you saw mousesports then, they just wanted to go right into them, apply as much pressure, put them under that real crumple spot that can happen, but no, they just about survive. But keep tabs on this money here, because this is really on the wire. Again, Cloud9 not great for money at this point, looking a little worse for wear, but they can get a good enough buy. But on the other side, there's still money with mousesports too, so again, back into the fire here. This is not over. 15-12. Cloud9 looking to take this one into overtime. Drag it all the way, and mousesports just want to close this. They want to put the lid on this game and look towards the next matches they're going to have to come up in the next couple of days. But Cloud9 not happy with that one.
So for now here, Cloud9 spreading themselves out a little bit more, and actually some fairly aggressive positioning closer to the A-bomb site, but it's Chris J who's moved out to the apartments fairly early on, looking to see if he can grab the player that's playing by the banner aggressively up towards the apartments here. Nothing to be found for him, so he will fall back, and we'll see the majority of mousesports starting to regroup from what appears to be over towards middle now in an attempt to take control of the A-bomb site.
Stewie's got such potential in this position. If they do split towards A, no one's come through Palace. He can be such a big factor to be a real nuisance, assuming he can operate as such. Next can still clear this out. He could still play through that. So again, this is all about timing and presence. The 4 players from mousesports through mid are having a very easy time of it. Look how passive Cloud9 are towards B. Last time they were challenged towards this, they had the boost up by that ladder room. Not this time. So now Nico, Chris J, Dennis, joined by Speedy, actually given a lot of freedom here. And Cloud9 need to be playing this incredibly close to the line.
Moving into it now. Trying to watch each other's backs there, as you can see, to the buddy system being employed just so they can clear out this entire site before risking a plant. What they may not have found as of yet, though, is nothing back behind Ticket, along with the positioning still being held by Stewie inside of the palace, and he is absolutely tucked in there too, waiting to see if anybody moves in, but nothing. Very sleuthily just going for a spray battle through the box. He's down at 55, but he did bring someone else on the side of mousesports. That being
Nico's
Dennis down
between them.
so low, but yes, indeed, we do still have Nico, a driving force to try and eliminate these players. Has to do a double take there at the end, but he does indeed close it out. And with that, mousesports are going to take this map 16-12. They move forward, they go up another pool, and as for Cloud9, they've got to go down one for the time being.
mousesports in the end grind down the rounds. There was that resurgence from Cloud9. They looked like maybe there could have been more to be given. Maybe there was something to be found there. But sadly, it just didn't come through too much. And Nico being able to slip through that, the murder hole in the end, through window, through jungle. It just stopped any rotate chances. And sadly, Cloud9 just had to sit there and watch as that happened. And you've got to think if they had something more to bring on that first half, we could have an extremely competitive game then.
Yeah, absolutely, and it seemed like mousesports did finally find that footing that was needed to be able to close the game out. Cloud9 starting to recover there very nicely into the second half, but just never could really close things out, unfortunately. So with mousesports being able to maintain that lead, and it was getting close too. I think we saw it come within one round at one point, but Cloud9 never really getting the lead back into their hands. So mousesports were able to just firmly take grasp of the lead they found in the first half, and then close things out in their favor, which means Cloud9 now go 1 for 1, and the guys from mousesports are only one map away from qualifying.
Yeah, and it would be a bit of a treat for mousesports, let's say it that way, if they do manage to make it in towards the major, not just because of all the glory that comes with it, but in front of a German audience as well for a team like that. That could mean the world to them. So again, they slipped up last time around. They had the chance to go there. This is certainly a redeeming grace factor. Chris J actually having a big game as well. Nex and Nico still performing as well as we'd expect. They had some really impactful moments in their previous matchups. But for now, that was a good performance from mousesports. It got close in the second half, but in the end, they close it out, as said, at 16-12. So guys, let's head down to the stage and hear what they have to say.
Right. Thank you very much, guys, for wrapping that one up for us here. I'm actually on stage with the new addition to mousesports, of course, is the coach Kassad. Very tight game there, at least in some points as well. We saw the scoreline get pretty close, but I mean, after yesterday, it's a huge improvement for you guys. We did mention we saw Nex, we saw Nico really lifting, but this was a team effort here in a big way. What's changed overnight? I mean, what did you go back to the hotel with? What was the take-home message for the boys yesterday?
Well, we had a better game plan, that's for sure. We like the map more. I mean, Kitas 2, it was the first map, it was the hardest map. Now we had a better game plan on Mirage. We executed very well. It started pretty shaky on the CT pistol, but we managed to take control on the first half totally, 11-4. Then we kind of stepped out of our game plan in the first 5 rounds. Then we just switched back to the old things, and it worked out.
Speaking to you just after the game then as well, I did ask, were the boys fairly nervous? And from what you said to me, they kept their heads together pretty much. But I do want to ask how much of an impact you were able to have. We do want to know what role you have for these guys in game, of course. A lot of people wonder what it is that you do. Is it very heavy IGL, or are you keeping the boys' spirits high? What's your role?
Well, like I said in the first interview, it's not really like heavy in-game leading for now. I mean, I'm just getting into it. I'm just helping Nico with making the game plan and watching the demos and analyze the opponents, just making some new strats and adjusting the rotations, noticing the rotation patterns of the opposite teams, everything, I mean, that is necessary for the victory, I guess.
So you're able to give it a bit of an eagle eye over the game and at least give the information where it might be missed. Pretty valuable, I think, to have especially. So good stuff there and good stuff to you boys. Thank you very much for having this time to chat with me as well. Good luck to you guys tomorrow. We have yet another team going 2-0. It's mousesports after a harrowing, very close game on day one. They now turn their fortunes around up against Cloud9, and that is no mean feat. But let's pass it over to our experts now as well to give us a little bit more insight into how that game transpired.
Thanks very much, Mitch. It does seem like the same old story for Cloud9. Their T side really did come back to haunt them in that second half. We started to see a real promising side to the North Americans, but it did just seem a little too late. Natu, Vendetta hanging out. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind really is that for the rounds where they went for mid control, and then a lot of them, they wanted to go to B. The problem really was the fact that the numbers were not favoring them when they were attacking the bomb sites. When you're in a 3-on-4 situation, there's always going to be that one extra angle you have to be able to cover, and you're obviously not going to be able to cover when you're outnumbered, and resulting in a lot of the rounds going the way of mousesports.
Yeah, no, pretty much that, and it's kind of cool actually to see mousesports playing a bit of a different style when it comes to how they approach mid control on their CT side as well. Oftentimes in the past, we've seen them be fairly aggressive towards that middle area, trying to disrupt whatever the Ts are trying to set up when they want to grab mid control. we saw much more passive mousesports, but they still made it work in a very good way. As for Cloud9, I guess they haven't really quite shaken off the rust that that you alluded to really when we were going through the veto. Pretty much seeing Mirage as a no-go for Cloud9 due to their shaky T side. Not quite there yet, but at least they got a couple of rounds on the board this time around.
Yeah, and I just want to okay, let's just go to the opposite side of the coin. And I know it does sound like we're just getting hung up on Cloud9 when mousesports just won, but let's just touch on the North Americans first. Their CT side was very successful, managing to close what was a very one-sided half, managing to make things competitive. Was there anything in particular that stood out to you as to why that was working so well? Was there a problem with mousesports, or was that just C9 having a very kind of default defense?
Eventually, you could actually see that Cloud9 actually got a pretty good idea of what mousesports were doing, and I think that was what Kausa was touching on really when he said that they kind of went away from the game plan after a while. Because you could see at times Cloud9 would actually stack up on that B bomb side without any real information as to what was going on, and that was because mousesports kind of fell into the same track of doing a lot of the same defaults, or the same default that ends up the same way over and over again. But that kind of backfired eventually, because you saw the last round there pretty much where mousesports is just allowed to walk up through middle and up on that A bomb site. It's largely due to Cloud9 making a read or thinking they have the right read and stacking up that B bomb site, which leaves way too much space for Mouse to actually move about with.
My problem with Cloud9 CT is that I want to see, again, Skadoodle has to be on the limelight. He needs to be that kind of opera who's just going to be everywhere on the map.
But he needs to be everywhere. But he did have a pretty good showing compared to what we've seen so far.
But there's so much more this guy can bring to the table. He can make it so much easier for his teammates. So, yeah, just it's been waiting for this for a couple of years, but still waiting.
It's on its way. It is on its way. I mean, we've seen Scream and Shocks provide for Natu. Maybe RPK, maybe Skadoodle's next on the list, next on his hit list. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. And while we do that, I just want to also remind you that now Mouse part of that exclusive club, sitting at 2-0. Our next game does involve the boys from Envy, who impressed us yesterday, going up against Gambit. It's our final game of the day, and mousesports are going to be very happy to sit back, relax, and watch our final game of the day, where we witness not just the Nico and Next show. Let's get into it.